everybody. Welcome back to the Health Bridge. It's Dr. Sara Gottfried, and I'm here with my amazing co-host, Dr. Pedram Shojai. Hi, Pedram.
Hi, Sara. Hi, everybody.
Hey, so we are delighted to have Rebecca Katz with us today. Rebecca, welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm so delighted to be here with you guys.
Well, I'm excited to have you. You're my neighbor here in the Bay Area, and I've been reading your amazing books over the years. I've got, do you have 4 books now?
Four book
yeah.
children.
Unbelievable. And your latest book is the Healthy Mind Cookbook. I just got my hands on it, and I am just so excited about this book. And I want to go through your whole bio, but it might be easier just for me to ask you to share kind of your past with us. Like, what brought you to this point? I know you're an accomplished chef. You've got these amazing 4 cookbooks. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see where to begin. My journey, I've always been involved with food, but because my family was very, was like a Jewish family and Italian family. So food was like an emotional issue and the center of everything. And the motto was eat, then worry, eat, then we'll talk about it. But food was a big part. And I was very fortunate to grow up with amazing cooks in my family. My great-grandmother, my aunts. I was lucky to be at the stove at a very young age, and I would sit perched on this, Formica yellow countertop while my mother would, cook soup out of her, old Le Creuset, bright flamed orange pot, which she still has, which I covet.
They last forever.
They last forever for sure. And so I was always involved in the kitchen. And I am so grateful for that because I think it really kind of gave me a really nice connection with food. And as time went on and I grew up and I grew out of the house, I was in my 20s and I got involved in corporate America and I practically worked myself down to the pulp at the age of 30. I realized something had to change. And I wasn't sure what it was. And I think, everybody goes through their life where they are making connections in and out with food. And I had lost my way. I'd lost my connection. So I went and I took a life sabbatical, which changed my life. I went to Italy. And I will say that I arrived in Italy, no luggage, no language. My bags got lost, and all the Italian I ever knew flew out of my head. And I was inaugurated back into another world, let's say, of food through this little teeny Italian signora who looked straight out of the movies. And I was staying with her because I thought it'd be a great idea to go to language school. And now I'm 35. I'm like 34, 35, which is, a big transition, to like take your corporate life and then just bag it all and go to a country where you really don't speak the language very well and you have to listen to yourself and turn off the noise. And the only way I could communicate with this woman was through food. And she said to me in Italian, I've been traveling for 36 hours, and she said, "Are you hungry?" And I looked at her and I didn't understand what she was saying to me. And I burst out into tears. And she just took me by the hand and she wiped my face and she sat me down at her kitchen table with the one single light bulb hanging, in the middle, just like out of The Godfather, I swear to God. And she sat me down and she made me just this plate of food and put it in front of me. And once I took that bite, of the fresh tomatoes and everything she had on that plate, I became grounded. And so that was the beginning of my reconnection with food, which took me all throughout Italy, cooking with different grandmothers and finding sort of my culinary masters, as it were. And then fast forward, I came back to the States and I ended up reading a book called Food and Healing by Anne Marie Colbin. And I enrolled in the Natural Gourmet Institute for Health and Culinary Arts. And that was at the age of 37, which is when Julia Child went to culinary school. And then fast forward, I did my internship at the Chopra Center for Wellbeing when it was in La Jolla. And there I worked with an amazing chef and was exposed to Ayurvedic cooking and the whole world of spices and herbs. And I really started dialing into taste. And from there, and you know, I am an East Coast girl. I grew up in Baltimore. I lived in New York for 12 years. So now I'm in California. And then I got a job in Northern California in Mendocino, which was sort of like a cross between Northern Exposure, Peyton Place, and Twin Peaks. And I'm running this.
Twin Peaks, you got me there. That's good.
I mean, I'm telling you, I'm running this kitchen. It was like running a pirate ship, you know?
Oh, we want to hear about that. The David Lynch moments. That sounds good.
Oh my God. I am telling you, it was twisted. And so, you know, I'm wrangling these cooks and this whole kind of environment. And I call it my culinary boot camp. I mean, I must have gone into the walk-in and screamed, you know, like a gazillion times. It was just, but it was an amazing experience, even though there was this dark underbelly there, because I got to work with this amazing master gardener and these biodynamic gardens. And they had llamas, they had everything on the property. I mean, even the gophers had their own little patch of food to nibble on. I mean, it was just all very, you know, for me, a nice East Coast girl, this was all very candles and sandals, and it was just a huge awakening. And it was there that two things happened that changed my life, if that wasn't already enough. One was my father, who food was the platform of his life, contracted laryngeal cancer. And I took some time off and I came back east to cook for him. And here I was a trained chef, and I did not have a clue how to cook for somebody who was going through cancer treatment. Now, this was 2000. This was 15 years ago, when talking about food and cancer was like inviting ants to a picnic. I mean, the two did not go together. And, you know, there weren't cookbooks. There wasn't anything, you know, the only thing that people talked about was a macrobiotic type of diet, which, yes, you know, I knew my father was going to have no part of. So I took some of my skills and my trusty Vitamix, which has a name. His name is Vinny the Vitamix. And I started doing these cashmere soups. And I started using food the way I intuitively knew would nourish him. Like I did not cook like I was doing invalid cooking. I cooked with this intention to nourish this man who was not going to settle for something that tasted sort of, you know, hippie girlish.
So question. So you're mixing your history of having been kind of initiated as a soul chef in with your Ayurvedic chef to actually be able to speak to him on all these levels, because he just wasn't going to be able to respond?
Yes. It's like I took everything that has informed me from, you know, my great-grandmother through all the grandmothers that I've learned through my intuition, through my culinary training, through the Ayurvedic world, all of that, from being in the magic garden with the llama, everything. It's like, I feel like cooking, this is the magic of being a cook. It's very alchemical, you know, which is why I feel like, you know, cooking to nourish with the intention to nourish is one of the most powerful things that we can do. And this is where I was put to the test. You know, can I be an open vessel to allow what I know to come through me, through the food, to heal somebody else? So after I had this pivotal experience, life takes another change. I go back west and I get a call from Commonweal, which is a think and do tank in Bolinas, California, and they have an amazing cancer help program. And I was called because a chef couldn't make it to do a 1-week retreat for people with cancer. Now, I had cooked for my father, but this was a whole week of 3 meals a day for, you know, 10 participants, 10 staff members. And these were people in all different phases of their disease. And when I got there, you know, I was all like, I had my notepad, I had everything organized. I was in my, you know, I was in my left brain, making sure everything was, you know, buttoned up. How am I going to feed these people? And then there's this part of me that is absolutely scared out of my mind, because I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to reach these people? You know, how am I going to pierce the veil of their illness to get to that place where I can nourish them? Can I leave my stuff at the door to do this? And, you know, is there a opening for food to be a awakening for these people through
Rebecca, I want to pause right there, because I think this is such an important point, you know, about the piercing the veil of the illness. And I met you around this time. You know, I remember meeting you in Mill Valley, California, sometime around 2006. And I think your book, One Bite at a Time, just came out around then. And it was at a time that we were really shifting our understanding of cancer.
Right.
You know, I was thinking at that time, I was practicing integrative and functional medicine, and I had a number of patients who were breast cancer survivors or, you know, endometrial cancer, colon cancer. But we really shifted from that thinking of cancer being, you know, kind of this rogue cell that grows these daughter cells and you got to kill all the cells, to a very different paradigm of what matters so much is the environment that a rogue cell is in. And food impacts that environment so fully. So I just wanted to give a little bit of that backstory, because I think that's an important piece here as we talk about the alchemistry.
Yes, I mean, it's, you know, what we're trying to do are two things that, you know, it's funny because there's that intuition that knows that. And then, you know, throughout my experience of working with people in this area, it's like, then the science starts coming in to support what you know intuitively. So the cool thing is that food can be so empowering, because really you want to create an inhospitable environment in which cancer cells aren't going to grow and thrive. And on the other hand, there's this attention to the taste buds. And that if you awaken somebody's sense of taste during that time where they're kind of going through transient taste changes and they have that disconnect with food, if you can wake up somebody's ability to taste and connect, then, and you put the two together, you know, then these people that you think you're not going to reach, all of a sudden, you've grabbed them by the taste buds. And you haven't done any preaching. You've just fed them really good food that's just, you know, where they have that involuntary spasm of vocal delight and they go, and that is what you're looking for. And so, you know, I think my work with cancer patients, in my beginning of this career of being kind of a culinary translator and culinary alchemist, is really set me up to look at food and nourishment and empowerment, not just for people with cancer, but for all of us, that really at the end of the day, food can, you know, we can get behind the stove and we can feel empowered by what it is that we eat. We just have to be willing to learn a few tricks to make it taste really yummy.
It's, you know, to at the risk of sounding sandals and candles here, I think it's a very powerful, engaging argument because, especially in onc, you know, if you're a cancer patient, I mean, you're getting poked and prodded, and you're vomiting, and you're nauseous, and you're bald, and, you know, just all the really kind of aggressive stuff that happens during that treatment, is being able to interface with some human in a way where they can accept what you're giving in a loving way through the taste buds and through pleasure, and then using that as a delivery channel for medicine, really, food as a healing environment. And that's something that, it's like that grin and bear it type of model that medicine had gone to. It's just like, shut up and take your drugs. It's, you know, it's good for you. And you could see the body not being able to accept that. And so there's a real powerful humanistic undercurrent there that you know, it legitimizes the sandals and candles approach in a lot of ways because it's holistic. And I could see very, very profoundly how well you were able to get through to them through taste buds and love and food. It's powerful.
Yeah, I feel so fortunate, really, you know, to have this kind of as the base of my training ground, you know, to be able, because these are people that are highly motivated. When somebody has a cancer diagnosis, they are extremely motivated. And that's fertile, and it's the most humbling work I feel like I can do, you know, really, to work with people in this regard. And then it's interesting transitioning to a broader audience and helping people with other issues that they have, maybe with other chronic illnesses or just general wellness, and using food as a tool to really to heal a multitude of things, and to help people learn that food is that kind of bridge to health, that cooking can be a bridge to health, you know.
She said health. She said health bridge.
She said health bridge. We made her say health bridge. Oh my gosh. And we need to, Pedram, I wrote this down, we need to preach less, cook more. Even the Persian prince needs to cook more and preach less.
Love it.
I need to do it too. So I really, you know, one of the points I was making about kind of this shift in our understanding of cancer is really this functional medicine idea that, you know, cancer is just one of many downstream effects of not taking care of yourself, nourishing yourself with the right foods and the foods that are cooked with love and have that kind of alchemical reaction that you're talking about, Rebecca. And I wonder if, if we could take the mind, for instance, the topic of your new book. Tell us a little bit about how food can affect our mind. I mean, we know a little bit about the gut-brain axis, but, fill in the gaps for us. Help us understand.
Well, the mind, I mean, all we have to do is like think about our brain, right? And most people don't. They think about it, they don't realize that they're carrying a 3-pound bowling ball on their head that is made of 60% fat and over 100 billion neurons. I mean, that's like Battlestar Galactica on steroids. And, that our minds need to be fed and nourished, that the brain is not this separate organ that science always kind of thought it was. This is sort of like the new frontier looking at the mind and the brain. And my curiosity was because I always feel like when I'm doing one of these books, it's like, gosh, like, what is this connection between food and, right? Well, I think anybody who's ever seen a kid at a birthday party down, like, I don't know, a bag of Skittles, 2 big pieces of birthday cake and Coca-Cola, and then comes home and is on this, super sugar highway, and then boom, crashes, and you experience that. I mean, I think what's very interesting is that most people are living that way as adults on a day-to-day basis. And what I found extremely interesting is that this work that I was doing regarding cancer and longevity, really, when it comes to the mind, it's the same game, right? It's about inflammation. It's about controlling, feeding your brain, filling the pump up with good fuel. Otherwise, you're going to be not at your best. And let's face it, we're all on overload. So how are we going to be operating at peak within our mind? And I think what's so really cool is that we can do it with food. I mean, we can do it with, we can do it with blueberries. We can do it with kale sauteed with olive oil and garlic and lemon. We can do it with a roasted ginger salmon with pomegranate, walnut, mint, olive salsa on top. We can do it with, so many different yummy foods. We can really, what we put in this gut really does affect our brain. And how are we going to think and react? How are we going to operate? I was at just a major aha moment to see that really what is going on here is affecting, everything else in our body, that it's so interconnected, that the themes of fertilizing the garden in the right way applies. It's very exciting.
It is very exciting. And I want to, I go through phases. I'm going to speak personally, and I wonder if this is something that our listeners maybe relate to. I go through phases of cooking a lot and trying out new recipes, trying out new things, coming up with my own stuff, going to the grocery store a fair amount. And then I go through phases like now where I will just go to Whole Foods and get something to go. And that's kind of our dinner. I get a rotisserie chicken and that's dinner for the next 3 nights. So what I'm saying is I have a little recipe anxiety right now. Like thinking about any sort of recipe that has more than about 3-4 ingredients, I am starting to freak out and feel like I can't do it. And I feel like you have been so helpful to me with allaying my recipe anxiety. So can you speak to our listener who maybe has a little recipe anxiety, like heard what you said about the salmon, but then the mind kind of filled in this piece about, oh, I can't do that.
Right. Oh, well, you and I have talked about this recipe reading anxiety and this idea that, you have to be perfect and you read the list and it's like you think, oh my God, she just talked about that salsa. I can't even wrap my head around that. So let's just like get cut to the chase, right? Let's say you bring home a rotisserie chicken. Great, right? But let's say you want to add a little bit to it. So you think, all right, maybe I don't want to cook. Maybe I want to be an assembler. So I'm going to go and I'm going to take some parsley that maybe I have and some mint, and I'm going to chop it up, or if I have like one of those mini food processors or little immersion blenders, I'm going to stick a handful of parsley and a handful of mint, some olive oil, a little bit of lemon juice, because usually people have a lemon, and some salt, and I'm going to wazz it up, and I'm going to drizzle that over my roasted chicken. Or I'm going to put it on my vegetables. And all of a sudden, you're dressed up. You have just dressed up. You have dolloped yourself. You have, it's like if the chicken was a little black dress, you just put some major bling on it. That
you're speaking my language now. This is feeling so much easier.
Right? That's woken up your taste buds. And then from a nutrient point of view, man, mint is such a powerful brain food. You know, it's like somebody just pull up the shade and let the light in, because that is what mint and parsley do. We don't tend to think of herbs and spices as really being like, you know, that big a deal. But first of all, they count as a vegetable. Second of all, they are so high in antioxidants, and oh my, they will just perk up your taste buds and you will be in heaven. So yes, there are times when, yeah, you feel like, oh, I can tackle a recipe. And there are other times, be an assembler. And when it comes to a salsa, you can just take 3 ingredients. Maybe it's tomatoes, maybe it's walnuts, maybe it's, I don't have pomegranate seeds, but you know, I have some grapes. You know, maybe I have some grapes and walnuts, and I'm going to spritz some lime juice on it, and wow, that's like a whole nother universe.
So can we call you the food accessorizer?
I love that.
Get that. That's fun. So for people that are busy and want to assemble meals and don't have time, so you can go get the rotisserie chicken and accessorize and do all kinds of things. And I really like that, because we all kind of come in and out of super busy times, right? We get really time crunched, and we have other times where it's nice to sit around and make a whole meal with your whole family. And you're speaking to the busy urbanites, you know, of our universe here, and I think that's really powerful. So how do people get started looking into your stuff? We're running out of time, and I just want to make sure that we can connect people with your delightful universe of stuff here, because you've been so busy helping people.
Well, you can connect with me at RebeccaKatz.com, RebeccaKatz.com. And when you arrive, you will see a cornucopia of color and food and a recipe box and things to inspire. And I just want to leave people on this note that you can prepare in advance. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Every little bit that you do is helpful. You don't have to be a master chef.
That's so beautiful. And I want to encourage people to start with your magic mineral broth. I'm just going to kind of leave that as a little bit of a mystery so that you can get Rebecca's new book. It's such a beautiful book. You're going to love it. Go to RebeccaKatz.com to learn more. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us on the Health Bridge today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been such a pleasure.
And we will put on our Facebook page a link to Rebecca's website. We'll also tell you a little bit more about the magic mineral broth. So leave us your comments. Let us know what you think about our show today. Pedram, any last words?
I'm going to go accessorize my meals here. I think that's really fun. That's a great little hack, and I'll report back. But takes the pressure off, and you can kind of feel like you cooked.
Yeah, it really does. Mint, parsley, lemon, olive oil. And we just learned that mint helps to break up the biofilm that forms in the gut. So I just really appreciate these nutrients that you shared with us, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, bye everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.